A genius with a 180 IQ dies broke. A janitor with barely a high school education retires with $8 million. Same economy, same opportunities, completely opposite outcomes. This isn't about intelligence, it's about psychology, and that changes everything. Here's what we think wealth is. Math. Income minus expenses equals savings. Simple formula. If you're smart enough to understand the equation, you'll be rich, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Because money isn't a spreadsheet. Money is psychology wrapped in mathematics, disguised as rationality. And that's where everything falls apart. Ronald Read. Never heard of him? He's the janitor I mentioned. Worked at a gas station for 25 years, then as a janitor. Drove the same beat-up car for decades, wore the same jacket until it had holes. When he died in 2014, his estate was worth over $8 million. $8 million! Everyone was shocked. How? He bought good stocks and held them for 50 years. That's it. No fancy strategy, no insider information, just patience and time. Meanwhile, there are people earning 10 times what Ronald Read ever made. Lawyers, doctors, executives who are broke, living paycheck to paycheck on $300,000 a year. How? Same story, reversed. They earn more, so they spend more. Bigger house, German cars, private schools, expensive vacations. They look wealthy, but wealthy and rich are not the same. Rich is income. Wealth is what you don't see. You'd think money would be taught like math, universal rules, clear right answers. But money isn't math. Money is psychology, and your psychology was built by your experiences. The person who grew up poor in the Depression, they'll never feel like they have enough. The person who got rich quick on Bitcoin, they think it's easy. Same economy, different lessons, different behaviors. This is why a lottery winner and a doctor can both end up broke. The lottery winner never learned how wealth is built, just that it can appear magically. So when they get millions, they think it's infinite. They spend like there's no math. Meanwhile, the doctor spent 12 years in school learning medicine, 0 hours learning about money. High income, 0 financial education. Different paths, same disaster. So here's the trap. We think we're rational. We think we make logical decisions with money. But then the market drops 20%. Now it's not theoretical, it's your retirement, your kid's college fund, your dreams, and suddenly logic goes out the window. You sell at the bottom, you panic, you do exactly the wrong thing at exactly the wrong time. That gap between what you should do and what you actually do, that's the behavior gap, and it destroys more wealth than any market crash. Warren Buffett has a great quote. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient, not from the dumb to the smart, from the impatient to the patient. Because when you panic, when you sell low, when you chase trends, someone on the other side is buying what you're selling, and they're getting rich off your fear. Here's another way we destroy wealth: comparison. Your coworker just bought a Tesla. Your neighbor renovated their kitchen. Your college friend is posting Instagram photos from Bali again. And you're sitting there wondering, am I falling behind? This is called keeping up with the Joneses, except the Joneses are broke. They're financing that Tesla. Their kitchen renovation is on a home equity loan. That Bali trip, credit card. You're trying to keep up with people who are drowning in debt. Then there's overconfidence. You pick 3 stocks, they go up. You think you're a genius. You tell your friends. You quit your job to day trade. You forget the fundamental truth. In a bull market, everyone's a genius. When the market's going up 20% a year, your terrible stock picks still make money. You're not smart, you're lucky. You just don't know it yet. And here's the most dangerous behavior of all: recency bias. Whatever just happened, we think will keep happening. The market's been up for 10 years, it'll go up forever. Bitcoin went from 1,000 to 60,000. Obviously, it's going to 1 million. We extrapolate the recent past into an infinite future. We forget that markets are cyclical. What goes up must come down. What goes down eventually comes back. But try telling that to someone in the moment. So what does all this cost us? It's not just money. It's time. It's relationships. It's health. The couple fighting about debt at 2 a.m., the entrepreneur who burned out chasing someone else's definition of success, the retiree who has to work at 75 because they panicked in 2008 and sold everything. This isn't academic, this is real life. The psychology of money doesn't just affect your bank account, it affects everything. There's a study that shows the average investor earns about 4% annually, while the market earns about 10%. Same time period, same market, 6 percentage points of difference. Where'd it go? Behavior. Buying high, selling low, chasing trends, panicking. That 6% gap compounded over 30 years, it's the difference between retiring comfortably and working until you die. Okay, so if we're all psychologically broken when it comes to money, what do? Here's the good news. You don't need to fix your psychology completely. You just need to build systems that protect you from yourself. Morgan Housel calls it reasonable beats rational. You don't need the perfect strategy. You need a strategy you can actually stick to when things get scary. Here's the first system. Automate everything. Don't trust yourself to make the right decision every month. Set up automatic transfers to your investment account. Set up automatic investments into index funds. Remove the decision entirely. Why? Because on the day the market drops 15%, you won't invest. Your brain will scream danger. But the automatic system doesn't have feelings. It just executes. That's the point. Second system, make it boring. The most successful investors aren't adrenaline junkies. They're the opposite. They find a simple strategy and repeat it for decades. Index funds, dollar cost averaging, rebalancing once a year, maximum once a year. It's boring. That's why it works. Boring is profitable. Excitement is expensive. Third system, build a buffer. Not an emergency fund, you've heard that before. I mean a psychological buffer. Money that exists just to help you sleep at night. Maybe it's not optimal, maybe that cash sitting there is losing to inflation, but if it means you don't panic sell your stocks during a crash, it's the best investment you'll ever make. Optimize for sleep, not for spreadsheets. So here are the real lessons from the psychology of money. First, you and me are playing different games. Someone day trading and someone saving for retirement in 40 years are both in the stock market, but they're playing completely different games with completely different rules. The problem? When you see their moves and try to copy them, you destroy your own game. Stay in your lane. Second lesson, wealth is what you don't see. The millionaire next door isn't the one with the Rolex and the Range Rover. It's the teacher driving a 10-year-old Camry who's been maxing out her 403b for 30 years. Real wealth is invisible. It's what you haven't spent. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. Enough never feels like enough when you're comparing yourself to others. Third lesson, time is your most powerful weapon. Not timing, time. Everyone wants to know when to buy and when to sell. Wrong question. The right question is, can you hold for 20 years? Because $10,000 invested at 10% for 1 year becomes $11,000. The same $10,000 at 10% for 30 years becomes $174,000. That's not a 30 times difference. That's a 1,500% difference. Time doesn't just add to returns, it multiplies them exponentially. Remember that janitor and that genius? Ronald Reed and all those broke doctors and lawyers. Here's what separated them. Not intelligence, not income, not even financial literacy. It was behavior. Ronald Reed understood something profound. Getting money is one thing. Keeping money is another. Growing money is another. And sleeping well while you do it, that's the whole game. The psychology of money teaches us that financial success isn't about what you know, it's about how you behave. And nobody, not your parents, not school, not even business school, teaches you how to behave with money. They teach you math, they teach you formulas, they don't teach you how to sit there when your portfolio drops 40% and not panic. They don't teach you how to be content with enough while everyone around you wants more. Those lessons you have to learn yourself, usually the hard way. So here's my final question for you. What's your enough? Not what society says, not what your parents expect, not what your friends are doing. What's your enough?
Because until you answer that question, you'll never have enough. You'll keep chasing, keep comparing, keep spending, keep working. The goalpost will keep moving. But if you can answer that question, genuinely answer it, everything else gets simpler. You stop playing other people's games. You stop trying to impress people you don't even like. You start optimizing for sleep, for freedom, for time with people you love. And ironically, that's when you actually build wealth. Because wealth isn't about having everything, it's about needing less than you have. Morgan Housel's book isn't really about money, it's about you. It's about the stories you tell yourself, the childhood that shaped your relationship with security, the comparisons that drive your spending, the fear that makes you sell at the bottom, the greed that makes you buy at the top. Money is just the medium, psychology is the message, and here's the beautiful truth. You can't control the market, you can't control the economy.
You can't control what your neighbor drives or what your coworker makes, but you can control your behavior. You can automate, you can be patient, you can define you're enough. That's the whole game. Not beating the market, not impressing strangers. Building a life where money is a tool for freedom, not a scoreboard for comparison. That's the psychology of money. And now you know it. If this changed how you think about money, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the psychology of money isn't just about building wealth, it's about building a life. And that's something everyone deserves to understand.